Okay, hey guys, it's your boy Dark Raku here with What If Issei, or not, let me actually say it again. What if Zenkichi Hitoyoshi was a descendant of Jade Emperor? Now, who is Zenkichi? He's from, well, mostly an anime called Madaka Box. Yes, this What If is going to be taken in Madaka Box, mostly the anime. Now, I know that I haven't really done a Zenkichi What If. Well, I have. It's just on my first channel since I wasn't doing many what ifs on my second channel until I did like some Issei what ifs, and then I just decided to continue on with some Issei what ifs. So yeah, so I'll put a link for that what if, since I don't really know how to actually put it into my second channel, since I deleted the footage. Yeah, I deleted it because it was only a one shot, and mostly okay, you see here. In my main channel, I don't delete what ifs that are like not one shot or mostly that are series, so I keep those footages just in case I don't have internet and I have to rewatch them somehow. But yeah, but of course, mostly what's it called? The Zenkichi what if that I had in my first channel, it was only a one shot, so I deleted the footage, and yeah, you get the point. I don't think it's in my storage at all. But yeah. So of course, that Zenkichi what if was called, it was called What If Zenkichi was from the Gojo clan. So yes, this was actually one of the first thing, mostly what ifs that were different from my main channel. So I decided to do like Issei's, mostly Tatsumi or Zenkichi, or even Rin Okasio from Blue Exorcist, to kind of do on my second channel, mostly this channel. But yeah. But since this was only a one shot in my first channel, I will try and remember what I did in my first channel to kind of do in this mostly second channel. Just upload second channel. But yeah. Or I can put a link after doing this one. But yeah. Mostly this was actually the first one I did for a thumbnail. And then there was this one, but I picked this one. I don't think I had another. No, just these two what ifs, but yeah. I didn't really do them because I was still finishing Madaka Box at that time. And I did finish Madaka Box, the anime, not the manga. Yes, the manga is going to take me 200 chapters. So yeah, I might just have to listen to music while reading it, since that's the best way I actually can read and not get bored out of my mind. But yeah, not the point. I'm beginning to swear, but yeah. So yes, this is the 400 special. And yes, is going to be a one shot since I haven't read the manga. When I get to read the manga, I will come back, and it will still be the 400 special. It won't be any other specials. I will redo it. Don't worry about it. That also kind of defines that I'm also going to redo what's it called, when I do actually finish it, all the chapters of both Madaka and DxD. I will kind of go back towards what's it called, what if Issei was, well, mostly was the son or grandson. What did I actually put it? What was the grandson? No, descendant. Wait. Oh yeah, what if Issei was a descendant of the Jade Emperor? Yes, I will go back and actually finish that what if, because I left it off on a cliffhanger, and yeah, didn't said it was a one shot. Said fuck it, but not the point. Let me begin into this what if. Yes, in this one, Zenkichi is going to be a brother. Well, mostly he is going to have a sibling, an older sibling. That I wouldn't say he's overprotective, but not the point. Let me begin this as what if. I had this what if idea like about 2 months ago, and of course I still have the kind of storyline and timeline I want to do it. But don't worry, some things will be changed from the original Madaka Box anime. But yeah, now let me begin this what if. Let me shut the fuck up and let me begin, okay? I'm also thinking. Well, before I go on, sorry. But before I go on, I was also thinking of either adding since the God of High School anime, there's only one kind of like series, or mostly one season. I don't know when they're gonna do the second season, but whenever they do it, I might either upload mostly some of the God of High School what ifs I'm kind of thinking to do, mostly either on my first channel or my second channel. But yeah, maybe my second channel. Wait. So yeah, it will mostly be in my probably second channel. But yeah. But not the point. Let me begin this what if. Let me shut the fuck up. And yeah. Okay. So let me begin. So we go into mostly after the whole incident between Madaka and well, mostly the kind of leader, president in chief of what's it called, the discipline squad. But yeah, that kind of young kid who's mostly a second year, or is he a second year? I think it was a third year, but not. I think no, he wasn't a third year. He was in the 13th class, full with the other abnormal kids. But yeah, but of course, everyone in the school is kind of trying to go back to normal. With every kind of student being from 1 to 13, mostly a bunch of abnormals are coming back to school to kind of fight Madaka, since, well, Madaka did take out mostly the leader of the discipline squad. Since he was a part of a group that was mostly experimenting for trying to get, well, mostly just like mostly liquid gem thing, whatever the fuck it was again, to kind of make normal humans become abnormal, just like the abnormals. But yeah, of course, all of them just want different dreams. So yeah, this is where, well, we go into mostly, well, Madaka already healed up, and she was kind of getting towards, well, mostly the principal's office, because she needed to go to a principal's office. But of course, next to her was actually Zenkichi. Zenkichi was also pretty hurt in the battle. Now, of course, she actually did go into war god mode. That's mostly because when Zenkichi got mostly hurt. Now, Zenkichi did get hurt during the battle. He did get some cuts, some bruises, some other stuff, but mostly some rubble did smash upon him. This is where, well, of course, it didn't fully like break all his bones, even though he's a normal human, supposedly. Mostly everyone is supposedly knowing him as a normal human. Now, I say this with quotation marks because, he's not. But not the point. No one needs to know about this. But of course, well, in his records, mostly it says all his records, mostly his blood type, his name, this and that, and other stuff. But of course, this is where race. It says human. Now, of course, it's really not human, but no one needs to ever know that. Even Madaka doesn't know about if exactly is Zenkichi's human. But of course, we go into. I should also mention Zenkichi does have what's it called, his yellow hair and his kind of, well, mostly brownish eyes. Mostly his blue eyes, but yeah, not brown. I'm thinking of probably either Tatsumi or even what's it called, Issei's eyes, but damn it. But not the point. But of course, where, well, mostly Madaka kind of goes up to, well, before leaving from the kind of nurse office, she did kind of kiss Zenkichi in the forehead and telling him to get well. Now, of course, she's pretty saddened because how Zenkichi got hurt. Now, of course, where, well, Zenkichi kind of was opening his eyes after Madaka leaving, and of course going towards mostly the principal and talking to him. And of course, after talking to the principal, she did kind of notice what's it called, the kind of like 5 figures there. But yeah, or there's more, I don't remember. There's that one dude, that one boxer, that knight, samurai, one, whatever. There's the girl, and then there's Madaka's other sister. I don't remember his name. Then that's that kid, and yeah, there's 7. Okay, never mind. There's not 6, 7. Or 5. There's 7 in total. But yeah, because the leader's also there. And if you count the principal, he's there also. But yeah, there would be kind of 8 in total, but not the point. Of course, she was leaving, but this is where before she like left, well, mostly she was leaving from the classroom, but she went outside just to get some fresh air because she's right now thinking about like the whole tragedy and other stuff with mostly Zenkichi and, well, other stuff. But yeah, this is where, well, she was actually about to get attacked by, well, mostly a abnormal, because the abnormal was rushing at her. And of course, well, there was already abnormals already trying to take her out when she was leaving the principal's office. But when she was outside, other abnormals appeared trying to attack her. Now, before she even reacted, because she couldn't react fast enough, but she was still kind of feeling slow because she did get kind of weaker over time and hasn't really been training. She was actually about to get hit by one of the abnormals until, well, someone appeared. Someone with red hair and kind of bluish and greenish eyes, smashing a kick into one of them and, of course, launching them into a tree. This is where, well, another person literally got their kind of face kind of just stomped to the ground, almost just kind of kicked to the ground by just stomping on them, by like jumping over them and kind of smashing their heads to the ground. Mostly this person with what's it called, mostly mostly this person with kind of like mostly pigtails, of course, having kind of this like blondish, kind of like rosy, kind of palish blondish hair, and of course these palish blue eyes. This is where she was wearing the school uniform, like a short kind of skirt, but yeah. And of course, this is where she did manage to kick the person down to the ground. She seems to be having this abnormal ability also. Same with the red hair. But of course, this is where the other abnormals wind their eyes, seeing, well, two other abnormals from Madaka actually appear. Now, of course, this is where it wasn't that much people. There was only like 6 of them, but they were eliminated pretty fast. This is where Madaka says, thanks again, Rias and, well, Junko. This is where, well, she now kind of identified the 2 students. This is where, well, the red hair kind of just grins at her and says, Madaka. This is where she hugs, well, mostly Madaka, but yeah. This is where, well, Junko kind of just grins at her and just says, so what are you doing? This is where, well, mostly Junko kind of asks. This is where, well, Madaka says, I'm thinking about how Zenkichi got hurt. This is where, well, Junko kind of frowned a little bit. This is where, well, you're still, mostly she says, well, before she was going to say something, mostly Ria says, you're still hanging out with that human? You realize that human won't be able to, mostly compared to our liking, our power. You're hanging out with mostly humans that don't actually have special abilities. This is where Rias kind of then tells Madaka know her eyes, which she kind of hates how Rias is mostly almighty and all that, because Rias' abilities is kind of different from normal humans' abilities. So yeah, because she is considered to be abnormal. While Junko kind of just sighs and doesn't really say anything, just thinking of the blondish hair boy who mostly hangs out with Madaka, even through middle school, but yeah. For some reason, Junko has always had this weird feeling around Zenkichi that he wasn't exactly human. Actually, he didn't even feel abnormal most of the time. He felt quite different from the abnormals and humans entirely, like if he was a being above them, but of course trying to hide. This is where, well, they're talking, and of course, where, well, Madaka is kind of explaining to Rias not to be all high and mighty, and just because humans do this and that, and this is where, well, we go from them towards Zenkichi. Zenkichi woke up, and this is where when Zenkichi woke up, he felt like something right now flowed down from his face. These bangs appeared, 2 bangs. This is where, well, he noticed them, and of course they were black. He then sighs with a heavy just sigh. This is where, well, he noticed his hair by just kind of plucking it out, and of course, it's still yellow. This is where he's glad it's still yellow. This is where, well, he does notice something. A tint of red seems to be growing back. This is where, well, he hates it. He might have to die later. This is where he thinks in his head. But when he sees the kind of bangs, this is where, well, he decides to grab something from mostly the counter because there's a counter near, and it's a kind of like a little mirror. This is where when he looks in, he sees, well, mostly his eyes are still blue, but they're turning a little bit kind of purplish color. And of course, mostly changing into a reddish color, mostly a tint of it, but it's kind of purple. This is where, well, his hair is right now yellow, of course, but of course, 5 bangs are appearing, like 5 kind of long hair bangs are actually appearing. And of course, well, not 5? Well, wait. Well, there's actually 6 bangs are appearing. Now, of course, they're black, and this is where he sighs. He has a heavier sigh. This is where, well, he does something that no one would ever expect him to do. This is where something like a bluish orb appears in his hand, and this is where it transforms into these rings. This is where he then puts him on onto the hair, and this is where the hair decides to flow back into his yellow hair, and of course, this is where, well, it just disappears after a while. It turns back into a yellow hair. This is where, well, he then decides, because when he removes his hand from doing all that, this is where he took out 5 other rings, or mostly 6 other rings, and of course these 6 rings seem to be already cracked and damaged. This is where he dispels them in an instant. This is where he has a heavy sigh of breath. Of course his body doesn't hurt, but he's still going to have to act, well, kind of humanish, he thinks in his head. He doesn't like how mostly his hair, and of course, the color of his hair and other stuff is changing. This is where he then kind of puts his hand, mostly his left hand, to his face, mostly to his eyes. Right now, closes his eyes, and this is where energy appears in his hand towards his eyes. And this is when he opens them, they go back to blue, and no longer into a reddish or purplish color. Does it work well? He has a very heavy sigh of relief. Does it work well? He says, thank God. Well, that's better. Does it work well? He then kind of looked at something, mostly his body for a second. This is where he lifts up his shirt, and this is where he looks at something that mostly everyone would just think that he's just looking at his chest. And of course, his chest seems to be kind of muscular and other stuff. But of course, something that everyone would think, well, there's nothing on there, he can see clearly. This is where symbols, mostly seals, like some kind of seals that seem to be suppressing his power a lot. This is where, well, he looks at it and sees that they all seem to be all fine. But of course, anyone that look at him, they'll think he's just being crazy or something, or trying to look for some kind of wound that he has, which is not the case. Does it work? Well, he has, well, a happy sigh of relief that nothing broke, just up for his hair, the freaking rings. This is where he gets up from his room, mostly the bed, and stretches a little bit. Does it work? Well, he stretches a little bit and seems to have this mostly complex look. This is where, well, he feels like he's forgetting something. He feels like something that he has forgotten. This is where, well, for some reason he thinks that it's probably nothing. Maybe it's Madaka's birthday. No, that's not the case because Madaka's birthday was like next month. This is what he's trying to think and what he's forgetting. Now I should mention Zenkichi is 15. Everyone mostly is kind of 15. Mostly Madaka is 15 and other people. They're the same in original canon. But of course, well, Zenkichi is trying to think. What has he forgotten? He feels like he's forgotten something, but he doesn't know. We go into a dark, distant place. Or mostly not a dark, distant place. Mostly a kind of previous, well, mostly somewhere that hasn't happened right now, but mostly like a flashback. But it's not a flashback, it's like somewhere else. This is where, well, we go into one person right now bowing down right in front of someone that's sitting on a throne. This person on the throne seems to have a wooden stick right in front of him, like a wooden staff. This is where, well, he has, well, mostly two eyes closed. He has two eyes closed, whitish hair, no hair on the top because it seems that he's pretty old. This is where, well, he has mostly a wrinkly face. Does it work well because he seems pretty damn old, like he's ancient or something. But of course, it worked well. He seems to be kind of crouched down, looks to be kind of smaller than his previous youth and other stuff. But of course, where he has a green kind of coat that he's kind of wearing like a coat, like any kind of marine or one piece kind of coats. You think of that, like those jacket coats. But yeah, he's kind of wearing like that. And of course, wearing a black outfit and black pants, well, mostly dark brown. Well, mostly dark gray pants, but yeah. Of course, well, the coat has two symbols, mostly two of the exact symbols. They seem to be omega symbols. Now, of course, well, someone in front of him is right now bowing down with a bunch of followers behind him. This is where this person has whitish hair, and of course, his two eyes are closed. This is where, well, he then kind of has this book next to him, and of course having white gloves. This is where, well, he also has this orange kind of like thing around him. That seems to be kind of the leader of the followers, maybe a priest of some kind of high ranking. This is where he opened his eyes, showing two blue omegas in his eyes. Two blue omegas in his eyes. This is where, well, he looks directly at the older man and says, "My lord, do you think it's the appropriate time to go after your grandson?" He said with quotation marks. This is where, well, the older man looks at, well, mostly the priestess of some kind of high rank and says, he opened both of his eyes, and right now they're a reddish color, but two different symbols are actually appearing. One of the omega, but being yellow, and the other being, well, an axle, and being yellowish color. That's where, well, he looks at the white haired man and says, "Yes, go after my grandson. I think it's long enough. It has been long enough since I've seen him, and I want to know if he has gotten stronger, improved on himself, or is he still hiding and, of course, suppressing himself from this world. He's someone supposed to be above him, and yet he doesn't want to be above them. It's such a headache." So please, go ahead. Wait. Does it work well? He says, San Madoku, please, and go after my grandson and show him the true power that he needs to use, since he will have to become the next supreme god. Does it work well? He said very kind of, mostly kind of wise and like, mostly like an old man tone of voice. And of course, it worked well. The white hair understand. That's where he then disappear, saying, I understand, and I would be taking my leave. This worked well. He starts leaving with followers kind of following behind him. This worked well. The white hair man named Mansan, or mostly San, or mostly, let me say that. Mostly Mandiok, kind of, well, mostly that's his last name, but don't worry about that. Or first name, I don't remember. Mandiok kind of says, I understand. Well, before I take my leave, I will be taking the judges with me. And I don't know if your oldest grandson wants to go along. Well, I'll be taking my leave. This is where, well, he starts walking away and his father starts following him. The room becomes much more empty and quieter until mostly the older looking man says, you can come out. You can come out, Jigo. I know you're there. You heard all of it. Even Mansung even saw you. So tell me, what do you want? And if you want, I know, well, I have already a clue on what you want. You want to go after your little brother. Your little brother because he's been too foolish and not learning too much about his powers. Isn't that right? This is where, well, a blue-haired boy actually appears from mostly the corner of this old man. Mostly of his eye view. Mostly the view of his eye. This is where, well, standing next to him. A blue-haired boy mostly seems to be quite tall. Of course, where, well, he has long blue hair. And of course, reddish slick eyes. This is where, well, his hair, he has 2 hair bangs. Or not even 2. He has like 5, well, not 5, mostly. He seems to have 6 hair bangs. But they seem to be blue color as like his blue hair. They don't seem to be different color. This is where he has a small little grin in his face. And of course, where, well, he then looks at the older man and says, yes, grandfather, I want to go after him. I want to, well, see the school that he's going right now. The school that suspended me a while ago. I want to cause a little bit of terror. I want to actually see the girl that he's been with for a while. I want to see him. It's been so long. It's been so long. This is where, well, the older man says, fine, you can go. But I'll be sending Judge R along, okay? Fine. I won't be causing too much trouble, grandfather. The kid starts walking downstairs. And of course, because there's stairs, and this is where, well, the kid seems to be waving off his grandfather figure. And of course, starts walking away. Almost, he could look like his grandfather figure, or maybe his actual grandfather. This is where, well, don't worry. I won't cause him any trouble. I won't even hurt him that much. This is where the person starts kind of chuckling. This is where, well, the older man sighs and says, yeah, I know. This is where, well, we go into right now Zenkichi kind of, well, walking downstairs. Or mostly not walking downstairs. He's walking past a bunch of corpses, or mostly people that were trying to fight him. And that's being also abnormal, but he managed to kick the shit out of them. He actually felt kind of much more limber and much more faster than before. But he's thinking that all his cells must be intact. Or maybe his power just started growing after him taking a huge collapsing building onto him. But he doesn't understand. But of course, he was much more faster and flexible. He took out the abnormals too easily. The same abnormals that mostly fought against Madaka. This is where, well, Zenkichi is walking. This is where he's thinking in his head. What am I actually forgetting? Why do I have such a bad feeling that something might happen? He's walking next to, mostly he's walking down a hallway. And of course there's classroom next to him, but these classrooms are not used in particular right now. So of course they're kind of empty. And of course, well, the door opened, but of course Zenkichi didn't turn around because he didn't care that much because he was too much in thought. And this is where, well, Zenkichi only turned around when he felt a dangerous presence behind him, already showing his dangerous presence. This is where, well, Zenkichi turns around in the fastest time, and this is where he managed to catch something flying towards him in an instant. This is where he managed to dodge, but of course got a little scrape, just a tiny scrape on his cheek, managing to kind of cause blood to drip down. This is where, well, he then looks at the person, a person with white hair, white kind of spiky hair. Of course, where, well, he has actually like five spikes behind him, like five spiky hair, one pointy spiky hair on top, kind of looking like a unicorn most of the time. But of course, where, well, one of his eyes is actually covered up by his white hair kind of bangs, and this is where, well, he seems to be holding a book right in front of him, right now, seeming to be like some kind of priestess. This is where, well, the person right now kind of opened one of his eyes, and of course the eye that's showing an eye that's so, well, kind of familiar for Zenkichi. Zenkichi says, "You." This is where, well, the person that had his hand out, mostly his like right hand out, holding it, well, mostly his left hand was holding the book, but yeah, this is where the person opened his eyes, and this is where he smiles at Zenkichi. Right now with a little smile. This is where, well, Zenkichi says, "You." This is where, well, he looks at him with a murderous glare. "What the hell are you doing here?" This is where, well, the priestess says, "Oh, Zenkichi-kun, you know it's time for, you know what it's time, right? You did tell your grandfather in 15 years that you don't want to be bothered. And you're now 15. And of course, we decided to let you be here for a couple more months. So of course, because we were having to do something. But it seems to be time. You know what time it's for, right?" This is where, well, Zenkichi is horrified. He didn't expect this to be right now in the school. Mostly this person. He can call it a person, but he would rather call it a bastard. This is where, well, Zenkichi says, "Let's just get out of school first." This is where, well, the person right now just kind of closes the book, and of course is where he puts his left hand in front of him and kind of shakes it, saying, "No, no, 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 we're doing it here." "No, you can't." "Oh, why can't I?" Is it because you don't want to show the girl that you love, maybe the girl that you trusted for your whole life, to know that you lie towards her, about your species, about everything, about yourself? Is that the reason you don't want to do it here?" This is where, well, Zenkichi is walking backwards. Now, of course, he's taking steps backwards, while the priestess seems to be taking steps forwards towards Zenkichi. Now, the priestess seems to be a little bit taller than Zenkichi himself. Zenkichi seems to be the height of, well, 5'6", while this person seems to be the height of kind of being like 5'9" or something. This is where, well, the person keeps walking closer to Zenkichi, and Zenkichi, he noticed what actually cut him. And of course, when he turned to mostly the side to look behind him, and there was a sword stabbed into a window down the hallway. This is where, well, he already realized that he's already getting this serious. This is where he throws up his hands in front of him and says, "I'm not going down without a fight." This is where the priestess grins now, has a much more bigger grin, and this is where he then says, "Fine, Zenkichi, it seems like you want to do this a hard way, a very, very hard way. I was only trying to get you towards your grandfather. I wasn't actually trying to fight you, but it seems like you actually want to fight. You're doing this quite barbaric, but whoever knows, you're always kind of a barbarian child. Well, not as barbarian right now, but you're kind of being too much of a little spoiled, little brat right now. I'm only telling you to come with me. Go see your grandfather. I'm not telling you to fight me. But I guess you want to fight me instead. You seem to kind of stiffen when I say about your grandfather." This is where, well, Zenkichi says, "Go. Tell my grandfather I will see him later after the school. I'll see him after this week. The weekend is about to start." "No. He wants to see you now. So either come now, or I will have to use force." This is where, when he kind of put both of his hands out, because he was actually saying force, this is where swords started appearing behind him. This is where, well, one of his eyes glowed much more brightly, mostly his left eye that's covered up by his bangs. This is where, well, showing the Omega symbol, but yeah. This is where, well, Zenkichi gets on guard. Damn it, why are you using your borrow power now? Why am I using my borrow power now? The older man said. Well, because I want to. Are you going to try to stop me? I'd love to see you try. This is where, well, Zenkichi growls at him. And this is where, well, he then had to dodge a couple of swords to the left and even right. This is where, well, Zenkichi says, damn it, why now? Why do you have to attack me now? Because I gotta see if you're strong enough. Strong enough to become the next you know what. This is where, well, Zenkichi says, I'm not going to become it. Because I don't want to become it. I already told my grandfather. Until I figure out what human life is exactly about, I will not become it until I figure out my mission goal. You had 15 years. You could have learned, well, not exactly 15 years. You only left when you were 3. But then again, that doesn't really matter. You had a couple of years to figure it out. And those couple of years you could have figured out already. This is where Zenkichi's dodging to the right, left, and even dodging his head from actually getting hit by any of the swords. This is where the swords are stabbing into the ground until Zenkichi kind of slipped, but he does this on purpose to grab one of the swords behind him and tries to just throw it back at the priestess. The priestess widens his eyes and right now dodges. This is where, well, he did. That was pretty close, Zenkichi. You could have cut. This is where before he even gets to say anything, he gets clocked in the face so hard. Right now pushed away and of course right now into a wall. Well, mostly into the ground, not the wall. This is where, well, Zenkichi said, shut the hell up. Aren't we fighting or are you just going to be keep chit-chatting or whatever bullshit? This is where the priestess gets up and right now holding his nose and saying, Zenkichi said, that wasn't really very nice. I just wanted to keep talking. I wanted to talk to someone like you. Come on. You keep using your human powers and not the ones that you were born with. So come on, fight me. You know you want to. You know you want to show me this full power that you have. So show me what you can do, for real. This is where, well, Zenkichi growls at him. And this is where, well, he starts kind of rushing towards mostly the older man. And of course, this is where he then slides past him. This is where, well, the older man tries to send a powerful kick to the mostly behind him. Very fast enough by turning around trying to kick Zenkichi. But Zenkichi managed to catch it and then punch the older man in the face. Pushing him backwards. This is where, well, the older man says, you little rat. Still don't want to use those powers. Use them. You know if you won't use them, I'll use these swords. This is where he throws multiple swords. 6 swords in total at Zenkichi. Zenkichi grabs one of the sword's handles and another one with his right and left hand. This is where, well, he then uses them to kind of knock back the kind of 4 others. And this is where Zenkichi rushes towards the older priestess. The priestess gets annoyed, and this is where he sends multiple swords. Some of the swords are actually, instead of being just great big swords, or mostly great medium swords, they're actually big swords, short swords, or even long swords, katanas, or any of that. The swords that he's using is called God's weapons. And of course, the words Zenkichi's dodging to the right, left, even up. He's even running up, which would have been surprising for anyone that's normal. But of course, Zenkichi is not entirely normal. Actually, could he be human or could he be an abnormal? No one can actually know. Because right now, no one is actually seeing Zenkichi doing this. This is where the older man doesn't seem surprised at Zenkichi doing something like this, running on top of the kind of ceiling. This is where, well, then Zenkichi jumps off the ceiling because swords are actually about to stab upon him. And this is where Zenkichi tries to swing both of the swords down, trying to cut the older man. This is where both of the swords manage to connect with the older man, but this is where he noticed the cape. He realized, well, shit. This is where, mostly not the cape, the coat. When he cuts into the coat, when he tries to cut into the coat, 2 swords, he kind of just throws them at the last second because he knows one thing. That, well, mostly coat that he has is quite very powerful. It's not as powerful as the one, well, he thinks about, but it's mostly like a, not the real one, but it's mostly a coat that protects people. This is where when the 2 swords collided with the coat, it didn't even budge. This is where, well, the older man noticed what Zenkichi did. He then smiles and says, have you already figured out that this coat isn't normal? You could say that even though it's not the real real coat that your grandfather uses is still quite powerful. It will never be affected by my own weapons. This is where Zenkichi scoffs. This is where Zenkichi rushes at the older man. And the older man right now tries to send multiple swords back at Zenkichi, but Zenkichi manages to dodge. And of course, a huge sword wall actually appears, mostly thanks to the older man. This is where, well, he only... Sorry. He only did that just because to block Zenkichi's view. But this is where Zenkichi just kicks the sword. Now, of course, the sword did manage to shatter. And of course, this is where, well, the other man was kind of surprised that Zenkichi managed to kick through it. Of course, it would have been shocking to any normal human, and even some abnormals, because they all expect Zenkichi to be human. Or mostly just normal. But this is where, well, Zenkichi appears right in front of, well, the older man. And this is where his hand was glowing to a bluish color. This is where, well, mostly the older man whitening his eyes and says, "No, you can't. Fourth stand of the four dancing gods. Mostly Adzelian Blue Dragon punches, well, mostly the priestess in the face. Right now, sending him straight down the hallway. This is where, well, he smashes into the glass window, but of course it didn't break. This is where he then mostly coughed up some blood. And this is where, well, yeah, he coughed up some, well, no, not really a window, it was actually a wall. And then when he smashes into the wall shatters in an instant, right now sending him out the window. This is where Issei right now has his hand kind of hurting a little bit, mostly popping out some bones. This is where he stretches for a little bit. It says, "I know you weren't the only one." This is where, well, Zenkichi turns around and sees multiple other people. Some people wearing mostly the similar same coat as the priestess seems to be followers, but some others kind of having like these black suits. A person with kind of dark skin, of course having both of his eyes closed, and having white hair is kind of looking at the direction of Zenkichi. And another person with kind of greenish hair, glasses, kind of blackish eyes, mostly onyx eyes or whatever. I think they're onyx, I can't remember. Mostly also kind of having a cigarette in his mouth and having also similar kind of outfit towards the other person is also there. That's where other people actually appear, kind of similar, having similar coat outfit towards most of the others, but yeah. This is where, well, Zenkichi kind of noticed these people, and of course noticed another person. This person kind of had kind of like dullish brown hair, and of course, it looked to be kind of tired a little bit, but of course kind of scared a little bit. Of course, he had eyes kind of yellow a little bit, one kind of dullish yellow, darkish yellow a little bit. And this is where, well, Zenkichi got the perfect idea. He then grins at this person, because this person is wearing the same kind of coat similar to the others. Some of them are wearing coats like black suits and other stuff, because some of them are kind of females, but some of them don't even wear it because they look to be ninjas or some kind of like, they do wear the suit but mostly as a coat. And this is where, well, mostly Zenkichi is glaring at the guy with brownish hair and kind of darkish yellow eyes. This is where he actually sweat drops even more. The person is sweating. This is where some of the people notices. Now, of course, the followers are called followers. This is where the others are actually called judges. This is where Zenkichi then actually name a couple of them. Judge Q, green hair. Judge O, white hair. This is where he then like names some of the judges. I wasn't expecting my grandfather to send that many judges. Actually, I think this is the full might and force of the judges. As you know, there is those numbers, Roman numerals for the Latins. But that doesn't matter. All that matters right now is I'm going to have to defeat you all. This is where some of the followers skips right, even the judges. This is where, well, Zenkichi rushes at them, but this is where he then just jumps over the green hair, because the green hair summons out a scythe to swing at Zenkichi, but Zenkichi just grabs his hair and mostly jumps over him. Right now, jumping straight for the brown hair dude. This is where he punches this guy, but this is where he then touches the guy like in the hand. And of course, where, well, he says copy. This is where, well, he said it under his breath. But this is where when the other judges kind of noticed what he was trying to do, they rush at him because they were seeing what ability the guy had again, or mostly borrow ability. And this is where, well, he then turns towards the crowd and says, vortex. This is where a vortex actually appears. Right now, a teleportation vortex. Mostly this vortex just sends them somewhere random. Now, of course, the person does have, well, a borrow power ability that allows them to kind of teleport people to directions and mostly locations they need to go. But Zenkichi says Vortex, and knowing his Vortex would just teleport them somewhere random. He doesn't care where they go. But this is where all of them actually fell into it. This is where most of the judges. But this is where, well, the two judges that are still left, and most of the guy, yes, that one guy that he managed to clock in the face, is still here. This is where he used Vortex for that guy just to teleport him. But this is where he sees the leftover two members of the judges and some followers, which they're not there because some of them are hiding behind a corner, knowing that mostly Zenkichi is now pretty overpowered using, well, mostly Vortex. This is where, well, he then looks at Judge Q and O. This is where he grins a little bit and saying, you think I'm going to use that ability? Those abilities that you would like to call somewhat abnormal. Well, not abnormal. I did use it. So tell my grandfather that I used the ability. Q and O scoffs a little bit and says, we can't do that, kid. You know you have to use the actual abilities that you were born with. Not that one borrow ability that you are technically born with, but no, I can't do that. This is where, well, Zenkichi scoffs, and this is where he then looks at O and Q and ready to fight them. This is where he rushes at Q, but Q right now sends cards to try to stab upon him. This is where, well, Zenkichi managed to duck down and then jump up because, well, mostly a fire dragon was actually about to smash a fire breath into him. This is where he jumps up. Right now, dodging was a call mostly Q's and even was a call O's attack. O's borrow ability is to summon out like dragons. He's a dragon tamer. While Q's ability is called Joker, but yeah. Joker Jester, I think it was Joker, yeah. This is where, well, Q rushes as Zenkichi with close range, even what's it called O. O right now grabs a tooth from a dragon that appears behind him, and of course makes it into a fire sword. This is where Q manifests the scythe with what's it called other cards. He managed to kind of make it longer, because he already summoned it, but it was short, but he made it longer. Made the staff longer, just to stab at Zenkichi. Zenkichi is dodging, he ducks down to the ground, and then jumps up because mostly O was about to attack him. This is where, well, he then kind of manifests something in his hand. It seems to be a red scythe. This is where, well, it transforms into a red scythe and blocks the attack from O. O widens his eyes. Mostly O and Q widen their eyes. This is where, well, Q realized that he basically did get his ability just copied from the beginning. This is where, well, O says, damn it. This is where Q says, damn it, he already copied my ability. This is where Zenkichi appears right in front of, well, O, and of course grabbing his face. Not vortexing him, but grabbing his face and says, copy. This is where, well, he then copies it and of course grabs the sword that O already has. This is where using it to block Q's scythe attack. This is where Q says, damn it. Fuck. He's much more skilled than I thought. This is where, well, O and Q are right now having a troublesome time with Zenkichi, because Zenkichi seems to be copying their abilities and powers. Now, of course, he doesn't have a full extent to all the abilities and powers that mostly Q and O has. He just has to kind of see and know what it is first before copying them, because he doesn't have actually a full extent to them, which is mostly the conclusion if he had an actual copy ability and he needed to kind of look to actually know what they can do. But when he copy and manifests the copy ability, he already knows exactly what all of the abilities do. This is where he then transforms the scythe into cards and says black magic cards. This is where, well, both Q and O realize that, yes, they forget that mostly Zenkichi's copy ability is quite different from an actual copy ability, since he is quite different from actually normal kids and anyone normal that actually has a copy borrow power. This is where, well, his copy borrow power is perfection, but yeah, it's already perfected. This is where, well, both mostly Q and R try to attack the cards, but the cards miss them entirely in thinking that maybe he doesn't have a full control, and then they think, no, he does have a full control, because they swing behind him and, of course, manage to destroy the cards. But, of course, when they turn back around, Zenkichi's already upon them. This is where Zenkichi punches one in the face, and then, well, grabs O from the hair and kind of throws him to the wall. Now, of course, his strength and power seems to be that of a normal human. So of course it takes him a little bit of force to actually kind of send him. But yeah, this is where, well, Q and O are actually starting to fight. But yeah, this is where, well, some people kind of saw the giant hole in the wall. Now, of course, this is where some people who are actually watching, well, they haven't seen Zenkichi from that hallway because they don't actually know why there's a giant hole. But of course, this is where, well, someone is down there kind of trying to get up, and this is where they notice who, well, what it is. It's actually like a priestess. The priestess managed to get up and say, what the hell? Damn it, little brat had to use that fucking attack. Damn it. I thought he didn't know martial arts. Maybe he did. Maybe he trained in it. This is quite annoying. He then looks up and sees a crowd kind of looking throughout the windows, and of course he sees multiple children. He gets then actually a little smirk and actually thinks about it. Oh yes, that's it. This is where, well, someone appears mostly in the hole and says, "Who exactly are you?" This is where, well, mostly in front of him. And this is where, well, the white-haired man sees a child. Yes, that's the best way that he can say. A child, but he does have the strange Orin ability. It's an abnormal child. This is where, well, the priestess grins at him and says, "Me? I guess you can call me a priestess. A priestess is looking for a lost child in his lost ways." This is where, well, the child kind of looks at him because he is from the disciplinary squad. And of course, this is where he does have his kind of squad with him. Mostly a girl with pinkish hair and does have, what's it called, these handcuffs. This is where, well, she says, "He kind of looks way too old to be in the school. He doesn't seem to be a teacher." This is where, well, if she kind of tells her leader, and her leader kind of says, mostly he says, "Who exactly are you? You're not a teacher. Unless you're someone to visit a child, you should have talked to the principal. But you don't seem like any of that." This is where the person grins and says, "Sorry, I'm not someone that's looking for someone." "Well, I am, and I found them. It's just they don't want to come with me. This is quite annoying. But I don't really have time for this, so get out of my way." God's weapons. This is where God's swords actually appear right now, trying to smash into the children, which they all dodge in an instant, realizing that he's an abnormal, or probably abnormal, they can't really tell, because when the swords literally smash to the ground, he started jumping on the sword handles, and mostly the point of the sword handles, and kind of jumping straight to the hole. This is where, well, mostly the leader of the disciplinary squad, his name is, what's it called? So there's a white-haired kid kind of chasing after him named Myzarian. And of course, well, he's rushing at what's it called, mostly the white-haired priest. And when they get to the location and where they're at, mostly the hallway, because, well, mostly, what's it called? They get to the hallway where mostly Zenkichi and even, what's it called, mostly Q and R are actually fighting. Or not Q and R, Q and O are fighting against Zenkichi. This is where, well, the priest is actually find them. And this is where Zenkichi already narrowed his eyes, noticing him. His eyes, mostly, he can actually adapt very fast with the attacks from both Q and O. This is where, well, he noticed what's it called, the priest says, "Damn it." This is where, well, mostly the disciplined squad leader named, his name is Murin. And of course, this is where, well, he then says, "Zenkichi?" This is where, well, Zenkichi managed to grab Q from, well, a collar. And this is where Zenkichi whispered into his ear saying, "Hey, Q, how about this? I'll pay you the extra more dollars on however much you're getting paid if you fight O for me." This is where, well, Q thinks about it and says, I'm getting paid literally $27,000. So how much would that be in total if double that? This is where, well, Zenkichi says it's $54,000. I'll pay you $54,000. This is where Q says, "Okay, bet." This is where he then gets out his hand, and this is where, well, Zenkichi already knew that Q can easily get bribed with money, so of course he then shakes his hand and says, "Go deal with him." This is where Q says, "Got it." Q turns around and right now tries to attack O. O says, "Damn it! I realize he can be easily tricked by money." "Damn it, Q! This is no time for your freaking games and literally trying to get money. I need money! I need my rent, you bastard!" This is where, well, O is right now fighting Q. This is where Zenkichi appears, right? We're trying to fight against, well, mostly the priestess. This is where the priestess is, "Damn it, Q!" Oh, shit. He dodges a punch, and this is where, well, he then jumps backwards right next to the kind of disciplined child named, what's it called, or mostly disciplined district or whatever, the child named Muzin. And Muzin says, "Zenkichi." This is where Zenkichi says, "Dodge." get away from him. This is where, well, Muzan did try to get away from it, which he does. He managed to jump away because he then hears the Zenkichi's voice being kind of serious. And this is where, well, mostly the priestess says, I wasn't gonna use him at all. I'm not a cold bastard. I wouldn't even kill him. But it's quite interesting. Are you trying to kill me, Zenkichi? Or are you going to try to hurt me really bad? Okay, well, none of those. I'm just trying to get you out of this damn school. Why do you have to be a bother? This is where, well, the priestess says, I'm not a This is where an explosion happens. This is where, well, we go into the explosion district. Or mostly somewhere that exploded. This is where, well, we go into somewhere in a kind of old school building. Someone was right now kind of looking at pictures of a blue-haired girl with kind of brownish eyes and saying, my sister's so damn cute. This is where, well, he's hugging a pillow, literally a body pillow of, well, someone named Madaka. This is none other than, what's it called, wait. This is Madaka's oldest brother named Meguro Kurokami, but yeah. This is where, well, Meguro hears the door kind of literally gets broken off its hinges. And of course, Meguro kind of looks towards the door, thinking it's probably Madaka until he widens his eyes, seeing a blue-haired man with having blue bangs, 6 blue bangs, on top of his hair. This is where, well, the person's grinning with such a malicious grin, having red eyes, but they're slick, like a black slick through the red eyes. And this is where, well, he's grinning such a malicious grin, like I already said. Straight to Meguro. Meguro says, What are you doing here? This is where his eyes widen, and of course gotten serious. This is where, well, he puts the pillow away, but this is where he's now serious, looking at exactly someone that he never wanted to see ever again. Meguro's 18, while this person is also 18. This is where the person grins at Meguro and says, Meguro, it's been such a long time, don't you think? My old friend, my old acquaintance. This is where Meguro says, if you're here, you're going to cause trouble. I'm not letting you cause trouble to humans or the abnormal. Even if I have to fight, you might die in the progress. I'm not even here to fight, but you already want to fight. Good to know. You never change. You always want to be kind of the hero of the story, don't you think, Meguro? This is where, well, Meguro grits his teeth, never expecting to see this person ever again, thinking this person was suspended and kicked out of the school. Oh yes, I was suspended from the school. It's just I got enrolled a while ago. Don't you think it's quite funny that I got back enrolled? Isn't it fun? Now, it's time for a death. This is where, well, Meguro had to dodge a punch from this person. This is where he then dodges a kick. Meguro is right now using his ability using analyzation. Sorry, can't speak. Meguro is saying, damn it, why are you here now? Out of all times, you had to be here. This is where, well, the person grins and says, come on, I'm not that bad. This is where a shark appears, mostly borrowed power shark, from mostly underneath Meguro. Meguro has to jump away somehow, which he managed to grab on top of a pole that's on his, well, mostly ceiling, and you just jump away. This is where, well, he then starts running out. This is where, well, Meguro punches something like a red button that's near the door, and of course, where, well, the person grins and says, are you literally going to explode me into this building? This is where, and I've been like 5 minutes later, when Meguro managed to jump out of a window and of course land down, the whole building exploded in an instant. He then narrowed his eyes saying, damn it, I did explode that building. I had so many Mataka pictures, but no, I can't let such a monster like him be running free. This is where, well, mostly it didn't explode the whole building, mostly exploded his room, but of course, this is where, well, someone started walking out of the kind of rubble of mostly the room, and of course jumps down towards Meguro's level, mostly down to the floor level. This is where, well, Meguro says, how did you survive that? What kind of monster are you that you have involved? This is where, well, someone's right now walking out of the dust, and of course cleaning off some of the dust that actually appeared in his black shirt, and of course he's walking straight towards Meguro. Oh, come on, Meguro, is that the best you have? I thought you would have multiple explosions, guns, and other things to try to kill me, but that wasn't nothing. This is where, well, the person's chuckling at Meguro. Meguro says, damn it, why are you here exactly? I'm only here since, you know, you have a sister, right? This is where Meguro shook his head and saying no. Oh, come on, I'm not stupid. You have a sister, and you love her, right? Well, I'm here for the exact same thing. It's just I don't have a sister. I have a brother. And that brother is kind of being a little spoiled little brat and doesn't want to use the gift abilities that he was born with. It's quite annoying, don't you think? Meguro doesn't know what he's talking about, but right now still has his hands up because he doesn't know if, well, mostly this person named, what's it called? Jigoro is lying towards him. He doesn't know if he's lying or not. But this is where he looks at, well, Jigoro, and Jigoro says, "Oh, if you think I'm lying, well, you will see him once. Probably later. Probably after I knock him out and take him back home. Don't worry." This is where, well, Meguro is still on guard with Jigoro. This is where Jigoro says, "But you seem to be still on guard about me. I guess I'll take you out." This is where, well, they start fighting. This is where, well, people did hear the explosion, which some people were confused. Even the president, I mean, not president, mostly principal heard it and kind of thought it was mostly at Megoro's kind of whereabouts. But yeah, of course, this is where, well, some people are hearing this, but yeah. This is where, well, we go back into Zenkichi fighting at the priest. This is where the priest is right now easily sending swords at Meguro and even what's it called, mostly Moriyama. This is where Moriyama says, "What the hell?" Or Miriyama? No, not Miriyama. Mari? I don't remember. Or Uzin? Mostly that's his last name. Somebody use Uzin. Uzin kind of says, "What is happening?" This is where Zenkichi says, "Don't know." This is where Uzin says, "No, you're lying to me. I know you're lying to me. You say you don't know, but the person already knows you." This is where, well, Zenkichi says, "I'm not going to tell you now." "Why not?" "We already have enough time before this guy tries to even kill us." Yeah. I know that you're thinking that he's probably going to kill us. Just, I'm happy that you already still have these, well, mostly colorful balls that you have in your pocket. Thanks for it. This is where Uzin checked out in his pockets and realized that Zenkichi already took it from his pockets. Right now, winding his eyes, seeing the speed. Because he didn't even check. He only was talking to him a little bit and didn't actually keep his eye focused on Zenkichi, but still, it was only like 0.0 seconds he even mentioned that and he already has it in his hand. This is where Zenkichi throws the ball so much faster than normal that they all just bounce around, well, mostly the priestess. The priestess kind of says, "Oh, what is this? Supposed to stop me? Nah, I'm just gonna walk." This is where he gets stopped in an instant. This is where lines are actually appearing. Mostly just metal lines. This is where, well, blood is actually drawing his mostly body, from his body. This is where mostly the priest winds his eyes and says, "Damn it! Zenkichi, no!" How about Zenkichi? Yes. This is where, well, he throws other balls straight towards mostly the priest. And of course, these time were explosion, but they were direct balls. So mostly these were direct explosion balls. They weren't actually like going to bounce around. They was so close to what's it called, the priest, that mostly they were looked like they were gonna miss him entirely, but they exploded at the 1 second, appearing right in front of him. Kaboom! This is where the priest gets pushed back. His clothing gets a little bit torn and ripped, but of course he's trying to self-repair, and of course he's trying to get back up. But this is where, well, Zenkichi appears right again in front of him. Black Turtle, first dance of the 4 dancing gods. This is where, well, mostly what's it called, the priest says, "No, Zenkichi!" This is where before the punch even connected, mostly Zenkichi's eye mostly transformed into a reddish color and showing the Omega symbol. But this is where Zenkichi managed to close that eye. But of course, it still gave enough power boost to the punch. Punching what's it called, the priest out of the wall and right now smashing him through the wall. This is where, well, yeah, through the wall and smashing out. This is where, well, Zenkichi says, "Can't use that ability, no." This is where, well, it almost seems that one of his hairs almost turned to red entirely. But of course, it looked like blood splat on his hair, but it's actually turning red for a second. This is where, well, Uzin says, "Zenkichi, are you okay?" "I'm okay. Just don't follow me. I have to take this person out. And don't deal with those other two. They are right now fighting. Or deal with them. I don't care." This is where, well, Zenkichi rushes through the giant hole and of course rushes down. And this is where, well, he doesn't see the priest anywhere. He says, "Damn it, did the priest manage to escape? Damn it! This is bad." This is where followers actually appear underneath, well, mostly behind him, and says, "Get him!" This is where Zenkichi says, "Oh, damn it, I have to be dealing with, there's so many of them. Fuck, I'm gonna have to just run." This is where, well, Zenkichi starts kind of climbing up the building by kind of just running up it, but yeah, this is where he jumps over it, but yeah. This is where he's kind of doing parkour. This is where some of the followers are using their wings to try to follow him because some of them can fly. And this is where Zenkichi says, "Oh, son of a bitch." This is where, well, Zenkichi says, "Borrow power. God's weapons. This is where he's hitting him. Well, not him. Some of the priest, well, mostly not priests, his followers, and this is where they're getting knocked back down to the ground, so they can't use their wings. The followers are still trying to jump up the building, mostly parkouring, and of course try to chase Zenkichi down. This is where Zenkichi says, "Damn it, I managed to use all the followers, bastards, and throw them into that vortex. How many did that fucking priestess bring?" This is where, well, he's thinking about it, but he's running. And of course, some of the priestess followers are actually, well, not priestess, mostly the followers are actually lowering down. There's not many, but of course, there's still a lot of them chasing Zenkichi. And Zenkichi just says, "Screw it." This is where when he mostly turns around, sees there's still a couple of bits, but there's not much. But of course, he's still hearing, well, then thinking about something. Mostly before he even punches the priest in the face, he then says, "I hope you can fight against your brother with that state of power, don't you think?" This is where, well, he won his eyes. Of course, this is where he was going to beat the shit of the priestess, and of course get information if he didn't just disappear out of nowhere. He doesn't know who exactly took him or whatever, or maybe he managed to just dodge that punch. He doesn't understand. But of course, if his brother is here in campus, he knows it's going to be terrifying. This is where, well, he then turns around, of course, seeing that little bit of followers still following him, but of course, where he jumps into another courtyard, and of course, he lands down to the ground. Of course, he didn't notice there was actually a group of students, or mostly a group of, well, student females and some guys. They were talking to some of the females, but yeah. Of course, they managed to see Zenkichi land down the ground and, of course, roll down. This is where he then turns around and sees some of the followers landing behind him. This is where Zenkichi says, "Damn you bastards." This is where he sighs, and this is where, well, he then says, well, mostly, this is where, well, Zenkichi turns around, and of course, this is where, well, a kind of vortex appears around his hand. This is where he says, mostly four dance of the gods, or mostly gods of dance, or whatever. This is where he then says, "First dance, Black Tortoise." This is where he smashes the air in front of him, right now pushing so many of the followers because they're still falling down or mostly jumping in front of him. And of course, they were launched to a building, crashing into it. They're knocked out. Some of the followers rushes straight towards him. This is where he says, "Second stance." Mostly Fire Phoenix, I think that's what it's called. Or, it's not Fire Phoenix, it's called Vermilion Bird. And this is where a wave of fire appears right in front of him, like a tornado. This is where all of them just smash up into the air. This is where some of them are getting knocked down, burning their clothes in an instant. This is where, well, behind him appears multiple of them, and this is where, well, third stance, White Tiger. He starts clocking multiple of them in the face and right now knocking them all out. This is where, well, they can't even fight back. And this is where some of them actually appears with the sword and other stuff. And this is where, well, they try to attack him in an instant. Of course, not trying to kill him, but of course trying to notify him by kind of just stabbing his wounds or something, or mostly stabbing him in the wounds. And this is where he then says, "Last stance." He still is already really tired, but of course he can't give up because if he finds his brother doing something crazy, then he will be pissed. This is where, well, he gets quite annoyed if his brother's actually hurting Madaka or something, which actually made him so angry. This is where, well, mostly his hair started kind of become a little bit light shade of red, but of course it's not noticeable. But of course it's mostly at the top of his hair. This is where, well, something appears in his mostly chest. It seems to be a necklace that's around his neck and of course in his chest. This is where like a golden cross. It starts glowing a little bit. This is where he says, "Fourth stance of the dancing gods," or whatever. This is where, well, Zenkichi's eyes, they're turned blue for a second. And this is where he says, "Last dance, Azrael Dragon." This is where he punches the ground in an instant. And of course, a blue shade of light appears all around, like cracking around mostly everyone, all the followers. And these are all in their eyes. An explosion of power literally just erupted from mostly not Zenkichi. This is where exploding them all up in the air right now, knocking them all out. This is where Zenkichi is sighing. This is where one follower tries to rush at Zenkichi with a sword and saying, "I will win. Then I will definitely get more money. I'll definitely win." This is where, well, before even Zenkichi can turn around to actually punch this person, mostly someone appears right now, kicking this person right in the head, knocking him out of, well, the way. This is where, well, it's someone with kind of palish blonde, mostly palish rose blonde hair. Of course, stolish blue eyes when she turns around to see Zenkichi's eyes. Zenkichi's eyes are kind of bluish. And of course, they seem to be turning purple a little bit, which she kind of noticed, but she doesn't question right now. This is where Zenkichi went his eyes saying, "Damn it, student found me out. Oh god, if I can remember right. She's one of Madaka's friends. One of the abnormals that mostly Madaka friended. Shit. This is where, well, someone literally was about to hug, well, mostly Zenkichi, mostly rushed towards it. So because she saw how Zenkichi is. And this is where an explosion still happens. Mostly someone smashes to the ground near the courtyard, but the courtyard is kind of near mostly the outside to some trees and other stuff. And this is where, well, the person that smashed down to the ground was mostly a blue hair person. A long blue hair person has brownish eyes similar to that of Madaka, but of course it's a male version of him. This is where, well, someone screams out, "Brother!" This is where Zenkichi says, "No, damn it, I didn't sense Madaka being here. It's probably because I'm too tired." This is where, well, he then looks to Meguro, but then notices someone actually appearing walking towards Meguro with such an evilish, sinister grin. This is where Zenkichi says, "No, not you." This is where, well, Meguro says, "Damn it, I can't even fight you no more." He's so wounded, he has so many wounds, and this is where, well, Chiguto says, "That's right, you can't fight me. I guess it's time for your death, don't you think?" This is where, well, Zenkichi says, "No!" This is where he says, "Borrow power. Divine cross." This is where his hand right now appears a cross in the cross that was flowing in his like chest, because there's actually a necklace that he has that actually starts becoming invisible, which people can actually see. But of course, no one actually saw this except for the girl that has kind of tolish, mostly palish kind of hair into two ponytails. Her name's Junko, and of course she notices, and of course the cross started appearing. This is where Zenkichi's mostly left hand started kind of glowing, and it, of course, is where, well, a golden cross actually appears above what's it called, mostly the kind of lightish blue hair person with slick red eyes. This is where he notices and says, "Damn it." This is where he gets caught, well, not above him, mostly in, well, left to mostly the right side of him. And this is where he notices it and realizes, "Damn it, I'm getting." This is where the cross actually smashes into him, pushing him to the side and to the left side, and right now smashing him into multiple trees. But Goro notices and says, "What the hell? That's such a strange ability." This is where Zenkichi gets up and right now getting tired. But of course, where, well, Zenkichi starts walking towards mostly Megoro's side, but that's not. He was actually walking past Meguro. This is where, well, Meguro noticed what he calls Zenkichi and the others, but he noticed Zenkichi is much more hurt normal, like if he was getting into actually a fight. Now, of course, this is where, well, a golden cross is kind of glowing from his like clothing. Now, of course, he isn't wearing the same clothes. He's wearing just a button up white shirt, and of course, this is where, well, a golden cross is actually glowing in the middle of his chest. It seems to be held up by the pearl necklace, being black, but yeah. This is where, well, Meguro says, "Zenkichi." This is where, well, he walks past Meguro. This is Meguro says, "Zenkichi, no, what are you doing? He's too strong. Don't go near him." This is where, well, mostly someone's walking out of the tree lines because he smashes into the tree lines. But of course, this is where, well, the person with the same blue hair and other stuff. This is where, well, the person grins at Zenkichi and says, "Well, Zenkichi, it's been a while." He then licks his lips. "Jiguru, what are you doing here? What exactly are you doing here? And why is everyone here?" "You know, I'm just here to, well, bring you back. It's been 15 years. Didn't you tell Grandpa about stuff and stuff and stuff? Those boring stuff that you wanted to learn so much. It's so boring. It's so boring indeed. You know, Zenkichi. It's so really boring. And I'm here to just test you out if you actually have unlocked some stuff. Don't you think?" Jiguru right now swings his hand in front of him so fast that no one actually reacted. Except for Zenkichi, he tries to react fast enough, but of course he's too slow. Thanks to all the wounds and damage that he actually been caused by mostly the priest and of course some of the followers. But this is where, well, he tries to move fast enough, but this is where, well, Jiguru appears with having 6 rings in one of his fingers. Mostly in his like index finger. This is where he has 6 of them, and this is where they're all blue rings, and this is where he says, 6 rings, and they have half of your power inside it. This is where, well, mostly Zenkichi's hair has, well, 6 black bangs appearing from his golden hair. Zenkichi sighs and says, "I wasn't expecting to notice him." "Well, how else am I going to expect to not notice him? You one time dyed your hair and then put tape on them thinking that would work. That didn't work that one time. Now I see that there's rings on them. You got more advanced with that. Don't you think it's quite interesting?" This is where, well, Meguro and everyone saw Zenkichi's hair. Mostly 6 black veins appear, mostly like hairlines. This is where, well, Meguro noticed that those black hairlines are kind of similar to that of, well, mostly Jigun. This is where Jigun kind of has 6 of them, but they're blue, not black. Which he's still wondering, what? What is this? Are they? This is where he remembers something. I'm looking for my little brother. He's been such a little brat for a while. This is where, well, he said, no, it can't be. This is where, well, Jigen says, well, other than that, I'll be testing out your powers, and you will have to go with me, at me with full power. Zenkichi. This is where Zenkichi, J.E., Hitoyoshi, yeah, Hitoyoshi, mostly the last name, but yeah. This is where, well, he does have a middle name, and it's just called Jade, mostly J.E., but yeah. This is where, well, mostly he has the same initials, middle name as what's it called, mostly, Jake, let me say that again. Mostly like Jaggeru, and this is where Jaggeru says, well, let's see if he can take me on. This is where Jaggeru started, kind of his hair started becoming a dark blue, but then it becomes white, and this is where horns start spreading from his like head, and of course he's like what's it called, also horns started spreading out from his like elbow. This is where, well, wings actually started appearing, white wings, and this is where, well, his red eyes are still slick as hell. Well, I mean, they were just normal red eyes in the beginning, but now they're like actually slick. This is where, well, he then, well, mostly his clothing does rip off of him, like his shirt that he was wearing, a black shirt. And this is where, well, his hair is mostly, yeah, white. And of course, this is where, well, he's in a, so basically he looks like this, okay? So yeah, well, mostly that will be the horns, but yeah. I accidentally got the, yeah, you get the point. He basically looks like this, without the horns, okay? So yeah, there's like a light star appearing behind him, but yeah. This is where, well, he then grins at, well, Zenkichi. Zenkichi glares at him with such anger in his eyes. This is where, well, Zenkichi says, so you want me to go full power? So quite annoying. How about fuck you and no? This is where, well, his older brother sighs and says, fine, that I'll take you out one way or another. I will make you use that full power somehow. This is where, well, the blondish hair girl was actually next to Zenkichi, which mostly was a call. Mostly, Jaggeru thought that mostly that was the girl, but then he then thinks of the blue hair girl. And this is where, well, he's looking by the blue hair girl and palish hair girl. This is where Zenkichi noticed what he was trying to do. This is where Zenkichi says, no, stop this. You can't involve other people with your selfish ideas. This is where, well, Jaggeru says, then fight me with full power. Or lose. It doesn't matter. I'm not fighting with full power. This is where, well, he then says, Takumaku Blade. This is where a blade appears right in front of Zenkichi, which actually shocks what's it called, Jaggeru. Jaggeru says, how? No, that blade should be with Pops. You can't have that right now. You're not even in, you're not even in God form. What the hell? Zenkichi, you won't be able to lift it up if you're not using your full power. This is where Zenkichi lifts it up, and of course holding in his hand. And right now in his right hand, this is where, well, Zenkichi says, it doesn't matter how I'm holding it or not. It might be heavy as hell, but still, I'd rather use it without going in that form. He's gritting his teeth and mostly growling at Zenkichi, because he was never expecting Zenkichi to pull it off without going into a god form state. This is where, well, Zenkichi's hairlines are, of course, like, mostly flying up in the air and kind of moving a little bit. And of course, well, Zenkichi right now kind of rushes at mostly Jaggeru. Jaggeru right now realized that mostly if he doesn't dodge a swing from that sword, the sword will literally cut him. This is where he dodges, and right now the ground behind him literally splits, and trees also easily get split. This is where everyone winds their eyes. This is where, well, Zenkichi right now kind of spins around like a, what's it called, ballerina, and right now swings the sword horizontal right now in front of him, mostly, or vertical. Yeah, vertical, not horizontal. So, vertical in front of him, and of course, this sword, well, mostly Jago managed to fly up, and of course, the trees literally get cut vertical. This is where, well, Jago says, damn it, you're not even in that form, and yet your swings are getting much more slower now that I realize. Yes, now I see. Even in that form, in your human state form, you're still getting weak. You're still too weak. Well, it'd be easier to do this. Light swords. This is where, well, so the light sword actually smash upon Zenkichi. Zenkichi screams a little, This is where, well, Madaka says, Zenkichi! This is where, well, Madaka was about to rush at them, but of course, where, well, Meguro kind of grabbed her hand. Stop it, Madaka. This is not your fight. This is a fight between siblings. This is where Madaka looks at Meguro with confused look. Meguro already figured out. Zenkichi's basically the younger brother of mostly Jago. Jago is right now grinning, saying, "Come on, Zenkichi. Is that the best you have? Come on, if you don't understand, maybe you should definitely go into your god state. Come on, you know. The form that you denied for a while. The form that you don't want to use. Come on, Zenkichi." This is where a crossing must appear right now, smashing upon him until he managed to dodge. This is where he says, "You're still not using that power." Shut the hell up. Why would I ever use that power to defeat such a bug like you? I mean bird. Not bug. Bird. I meant bird. This is where, well, mostly Jago says, "Oh, right. You're actually getting back into your normal state. Like any normal god will always cause someone else much more weaker than them. Don't you think, Zenkichi? Come on, you know you want to go into that form. You know you want to go back into the original state of any normal god. You know you want to do it." Zenkichi's right now covering his mouth, and this is where Zenkichi holds a sword right now towards him, and this is where, well, he says, "Fuck you, I'm not doing any of that." This is where, well, Zenkichi is right now holding it in front of him, not towards him, mostly in front of him, and this is where Zenkichi right now swings a sword right in front of him, and a slice, mostly a slash of air actually appears. And this is where, well, it's invisible for anyone, but this is where mostly Jago managed to dodge. Jago says, "Damn, even in your non-god state, you're still stronger. Damn it, damn it, damn it. Zenkichi, just use the form. It's not that damn difficult. Why are you being so difficult?" This is where, well, Zenkichi says, "Because I'm just that kind of person." This is where, well, Zenkichi's right now thinking in his head. He doesn't really want to use the god state form, but of course he knows he might have to use it. Madaka screams at Zenkichi to dodge. This is where, well, Zenkichi looks up and sees Madaka and even Junko screaming his name out. This is where, well, Zenkichi was surprised for Junko for screaming out his name because, well, he thought that mostly the also abnormal girl doesn't really care about him since he knows, well, one of Madaka's friends doesn't like him that much, and that being Rias, Rias. Of course, she does have a last name memory, but don't worry about that. She's not a devil. She just has an abnormal ability that's similar to a devil, but yeah. This is where, well, Zenkichi sees the light source, and of course, he's not dodging because he's too tired and too weak for right now. But of course, he doesn't mind taking the attacks. But someone actually appears right in front of him, and that is none other than Madaka. Right now, Meguro realized that he's not holding on to Madaka no more, and this is where Meguro says, "Madaka, no!" This is where Zenkichi says, "Madaka, move!" This is where mostly Madaka says, "No, I won't move. You're my friend, and I love you, Zenkichi." This is where the sword stab upon her, and this is where she screams out a little pain. Of course, she would have went in God mode, but this is where, well, she's not as strong enough to go in God mode right now. She knows that even if going in God mode, mostly Zenkichi wouldn't improve. This is where, well, she didn't realize that mostly what's holding Zenkichi's back is basically her. And this is where she thought it was reckless, but she then thought of Zenkichi more than mostly herself. This is where when Zenkichi saw Madaka get hurt, his eyes turned crimson red. They right now have the symbols of the Axel and Omega. This is where his hair turns red. This is where, well, he then glares at, well, mostly Jago. And of course, this is where seals around his body start snapping off. This is where, well, he grabs Madaka and right now hugging her tight. This is where, well, mostly this green aura started leaking off of Zenkichi. Mostly looks like green flames, but no one notices. And of course started healing Madaka. Madaka saying, "Zenkichi?" This is where Zenkichi got up right now with such a murderous look, grabbing the sword off of the ground. And of course lifting it, and right now swinging straight towards his brother. This is where, well, his older brother managed to dodge up in the air and saying, "Damn, you got it much faster. So this is your god power. And I can see all that power leaking off your body. Yeah. That's quite powerful. The aura, everything's quite powerful. See, I told you. If you would have just used your..." This is where he grabs his... Well, mostly he got his face grabbed by Zenkichi and thrown to the ground in an instant. This is where one of his wings were cut off in an instant also before he can even fly up. This is where, oh, is it? Damn it. He cut off my wings. Now I should mention one thing. Mostly some people from school actually notice this, which are rushing to, well, the location, and they just see Zenkichi right now, like, on the ground, mostly this whole situation. Even some people, like, supposedly supposed to be, like, the king of the school or something, blondish hair dude, who's mostly his ability to control people, or make people bow down to him, can see Zenkichi's power literally flowing off of him when he's fighting against someone named Jugo. Now, of course, he knows about Jugo because Jugo is someone that was terrifying to the school. Anyone that's a second or third year knows about Jugo's existence because Jugo was also with Megoro's kind of existence. But of course, Jugo was much more of a terrifying being because he would have slaughtered people without a care in the world. Kill them without a care in the world. Even if you try to make him bow down to you, thinking that you're much more powerful, he would have slaughtered you without a care in the world, like a shark would have appeared underneath you, eating you alive. This is where, well, the guy with blondish hair is right now kind of getting chills. But of course, seeing, well, Zenkichi is getting more afraid. Zenkichi is a monster differently from Jugo. This is where his eyes are more murderous, and of course, seems to be ready to kill Jugo. Jugo says, oh God, I never thought I would see the day that my brother would try to kill me. But I'm happy for you to finally unlock your God state. But do you think you will be able to stop me? This is where, well, mostly Jugo is laughing at what's it called. This is where, well, he then, what's it called, mostly Zenkichi still in this form. This is where Jugo is laughing at him. And of course, managing to get him in God state. This is where, well, still, mostly Zenkichi seems to be really tired in God state. Because he still had too many wounds in his body. Now seeing Madaka, that was only a breaking point. This is where, well, Zenkichi right now ignites a sword. There's so many abilities. Mostly, something that surprised mostly, what's it called? Jugo, and Jugo says, wait. He says, Zenkichi, stop it. That attack would literally annihilate everything. Stop it. I only heard it. Well, I didn't expect to see that girl block your way, but you don't need to do that. This is where Zenkichi is chanting out names, mostly like vibration, what's it called, electrician, well, not electrician, electronic, well, whatever it's called. And mostly a bunch of chants, and mostly think of it when so basically this like darkish bluish glow actually appears on the sword. Mostly first was gravity, gravity, and then it was called electronic mechanic or whatever, force, then it was weak force, strong force, and the last one was this is where, well, he then says mostly the sword was glowing such a dark malicious color, and this is where, well, Zenkichi's eyes closed, but this is where a third eye appears. This eye is so much more powerful. This is where, well, a glowing red color appears. This is where, well, his sword started becoming this more malicious scale, and this is where he says divine judgment. This is where, well, he then appears right in front of what's it called, mostly on top, and was swinging it down straight towards Jugo, and Jugo says, damn it, I won't be able to dodge this. This is where, well, he felt the energy and power from it. This is where he wasn't expecting Zenkichi to even awaken the third eye too fast. This is where before he even gets to swing the sword down, mostly someone appears, an older looking man, and managing to block the power from mostly Zenkichi. This is where he managed to block it, and of course managed to even, well, grab the sword before he even dares to even touch anyone. He managed to absorb all the energy and force from it, and of course where he then puts his hand right in front of Zenkichi, and of course says, stop it. This is where, well, Zenkichi's body right now has so many wounds and splits of like slices appearing around him. But of course, they weren't actually slicing his body entirely, it was mostly a bunch of cuts. He didn't cough up blood right now, just realizing what happened. His grandfather appears. Mostly none other than the Jade Emperor. This is where, well, an old figure of Jade Emperor, but this is where, well, Zenkichi, grandfather. This is where he falls down to the ground in an instant. This is where the sword is no longer in his hand. But this is where, well, Madaka notices, and even Junko, and this is where they rush to their, well, mostly Zenkichi's site. And of course, where, well, they say, Zenkichi, are you okay? Wake up. This is where Madaka says, Zenkichi. This is where she's crying. This is where she glares at mostly, well, what's it called? Jade Emperor, and this is where the Jade Emperor says, don't give me that look, human. Unless you're strong enough for my grandchild, I suggest you don't give me that. This is where she goes into God mode, and this is where Madaka's hair also becomes a dark red. This crimson red, and of course black at the same time. Her eyes actually become black and red. This is where Madaka goes God mode, and she shut the hell up. This is where, well, both of them said at the same time. This is where Jade Emperor was actually surprised with the form that actually appeared. One actually feels a lot of despair with her, while the other one feels a lot of rage. This is where he stays, interesting forms, but you're not strong enough to even defeat. This is where he feels the gravity kind of pushing him down, and realizes Zenkichi isn't fully down. Zenkichi's getting up and says, "Stop it. This is my fight. No one else. I won't give up." This is where the sword disappears from mostly the Jade Emperor's grasp, and this is where he widens his eyes, seeing, well, mostly Zenkichi. This is where, what's it called? 9 other weapons appear behind him, but they're all in different pillars. This is where, well, Zenkichi's eyes right now, they show to be, well, one shows to be actually the Omega and Axel mixed together in one eye, while the other eye seems to be a cross. Seems to kind of became that of, well, mostly a yellow golden cross with being red. That being mostly of the Supreme God's power. This is where he can feel the Supreme God power being flowing around Zenkichi. Zenkichi says, "I won't give up. Divide punishment." This is where the sword is glowing back into the energy, but it seems to be taking Zenkichi's life form. This is where, well, Jade Emperor says, "Stop it, Zenkichi, now! If you don't stop, your life force might be taken with the slash." "It doesn't matter. I won't let you hurt Madaka-san." Well, he says Madaka-chan and even what's it called, Chunko-chan. This is where they blush in an instant. But of course, where Zenkichi was about to slice his sword, until they actually stop him in an instant, try to stop him. This is where they say, "Stop it, Zenkichi. If it's true, her life force, no, stop it." So where, well, Zenkichi right now feels their warmth, and this is where he actually passes out. Kind of calming down, passing out. The sword right now falls down to the ground, slicing the ground pretty easily because the sword is pretty damn strong. The 9 pillars that were behind Zenkichi actually disappear also. But leaving one weapon kind of open, and of course falling right next to Zenkichi. And that was none other than the first pillar. Mostly this kind of little kind of knife thing that usually pierces through any weapon. It's mostly like a first letter or something. Something like that. This is where, well, it actually appears next to him, but of course Zenkichi passed the fuck out. This is where, well, Jade Emperor managed to sigh, and this is where he then tells Judge R to take him. This is where Judge R appears. A guy with blondish hair, of course closed eyes, and of course having a grin. This is where he says, "Got it." This is where, well, he kind of grabs, well, Zenkichi from mostly Junko and Madaka's grasp, but of course, where, well, they kind of growl at Judge R, but Judge R says that he needs to come with us to be healed. That's where, well, they kind of sigh, but they really want him to just stay by their side because Zenkichi seems to actually try to protect him, even if he means costing his life, which that was a surprise, but yeah. Of course, the Jade Emperor says, "Don't worry, you two. It seems that you two actually care about him too much, even though he's not entirely human." This is where he says that quite off the sideline, which they didn't pay attention, which Meguro managed to hear that, and of course Jogo's right now out of his own form. He's right now really tired and wounded. "Grandfather, are you seriously going to just, what do you even want from them?" This is where, well, the older man looks at him and says, "Oh, teasing material, of course." He said that whisperly, and this is where Jogo managed to hear that, and this is where he grins also. "I see." This is where, well, mostly the Jade Emperor looks back at them, and this is where he kind of gives out this old friendly looking old man face, and this is where, well, he then says, "Don't worry, you two. Zenkichi will be fine. He will just have to be trained in 7 days, or probably more, to control his power. It seems to me that he's been just letting loose of power. The power usually just should be flowing in his body, but there was too much, so of course it went outside his body. That's why some people like over there was affected by Zenkichi's flow of power. Not much, thanks to Judge R. Judge R says, "Yeah, that's me, and yes, I did stop most of the power, so now smash them all down to the ground." "I couldn't contain that much power," which Judge R was lying. He could have contained all the power to be back into Zenkichi's body, but he was letting some of it flow just to scare the shit out of the normal humans and also abnormals, to feel that Zenkichi is completely different from normal. This is where, well, Mochi Madaka nodded. Now, of course, this is where Junko also nodded. This is where, well, Rias kind of says, Madaka, Junko, are you two okay? This is where, well, Rias kind of looks at Zenkichi's kind of knocked out body. He's unconscious. And, of course, yes, Mochi, what's it called? Judge R is carrying him. This is where, well, we go outside somewhere else, and this is where Judge Q says, I win, motherfucker! Now I'm gonna get paid $54,000 by Zenkichi! Yes! Fuck you! Oh, I win! Oh, it's right now too damn tired to even care. Fuck off. You ruined the whole plan, you dumbass. Ah, don't worry, I'll get paid $54,000. It wasn't matter anything. You think you could have, maybe he could have lied to you? Nah, he would never lie to me. Uh-huh. Whatever, kid. Whatever with your bullshit half the time. Okay. Whatever. I get paid more money than you. Haha. This is where, well, mostly Judge O is already done with Judge Q's bullshit, but yeah. This is where, well, they feel an intercom just actually in their ear, and mostly they hear the Jade Emperor's voice and says, where are you two at? This is where, well, mostly Judge O's like, tire from Judge Q's bullshit. Judge Q says, tire also from Judge Or's attack for no reason. This is where he tries to lie himself out, and this is where, well, Jade Emperor says, just get back to the base. And also, I swear to God, Q, I swear to God, if you got fooled by my grandson, I'm going to probably kill you. This is where, well, he swear drops and actually, right now, kind of thinking that maybe he got struck. Maybe he didn't. He doesn't know. Maybe Zenkichi will remember. But he doesn't know where Zenkichi's at. But yeah. But they actually realize, why is the Jade Emperor here? But yeah. Now, of course, I should mention one thing. Zenkichi's hair is a light shade of red, not actually dark shade of red like Ria's. Mostly light shade. This is where, well, Madaka is seeing Zenkichi's hair being red, which is actually turning back to yellow. Now, of course, this is where, well, mostly, what's it called? The Jade Emperor actually notices quick. This is where he says, interesting. So, he's going back into human state. Quite interesting. This is where, well, he kind of decides not to question that further. He will ask Zenkichi about that, but whatever. This is where, well, his hair goes back into yellow after a while because he's fully fully unconscious. But yeah, even though it was supposed to just be dye yellow, it's not actually red, but it's supposed to be dyed, like dyed yellow. His real hair, well, his real color of hair is red, but it's starting to become yellow, like if he was in human state or something. Like, if he was like Morty Jim, when Morty Jim has a human form, has a god form, and does have a further supreme god form. But don't worry about that. Like, his human form is blue hair, his god form is his actual previous kind of black spiky hair.